video ended up being longer than what I thought. We'll get right to the subject matter in hand. Okay, part two. If you run into a situation where your round is constantly hitting against one of your dies. Sometimes these what do you call these shell shell holder springs, I'm gonna call it, these shell holder springs right here to hold your shell in these indentions, these shell slots here. Sometimes they're bent too far out, and then your round is loose in there, and when it's loose, it's not going to line up with the die. So every now and then check that each one of these springs are pushed in. That's important. That's important, because they can sometimes come out from here, because they're on this little circlet right here, and they can pull it off. It can come out, and then your round is wiggling around in there, and it's going to hit. It's not going to go directly into your die. So make sure these are pushed in. Check every now and then on these things. That's just another point, another tip. Check these. If you're having a problem with your round in position 1 here, and you're finding that it's moving outward, it's moving out before it goes into the die, make sure this spring right here, I forgot what they call this spring anyway. Make sure this spring is adjusted correctly, because dies have different thicknesses. I mean, the rounds have different thicknesses, shells have different thicknesses, everything. So make sure that this is set correctly, that is touching just the back. I did this myself. I loosened this, put a round in there, pushed this in a little bit to where it was just touching the back of the round, keeping it in place. Then I locked it down. And it's been good ever since for 9mm and 40, so I haven't had to change it. It works for both of them, and I haven't had a round back out of this shell slot right here. So that has worked. So you might want to check that too. Two things. Okay, the shell holders, check them. If you're having a problem with it backing out of here, check this spring right here. Make sure it's holding that round in this slot by adjusting it with this screw right here. Okay, and here, always remember this: whenever you're dealing with this shell plate, shell plate holder, raise the ram. The most important thing about this press I found is these words: raise the ram, raise the ram, raise that ram. If you want to save that index arm, raise that ram. Okay? Alright, so that's that. Well, this thing's going on away. That wasn't why I started this video. I started this video to talk about extra parts and whatnot. And in my journey with this system, like I said, I gotta confess, I was pissed at this system at first because I didn't understand why they did this. I was asking the same questions everybody else was asking. Why would they do this? Why did they do this out of plastic? And why did they make this index arm so thin? Well, with an index arm, this index arm, if you understand this press and you got it all hooked up, you got it all working properly, you know when you get the feel for it like any other press. This index arm makes this press so smooth that the trade-off is that now with this index arm that looks thin and fragile, and it can be if you slam this thing constantly down on this thing without fully indexing this thing. Another thing about this thing, you don't want it too tight either. You want some flex in that, and that has to be some flex. Need some flex in there. See that? Has some flex. It's not much flex up here like on the Hornady. The Hornady flex is here. That's why when that Hornady, your shell slides along the shell holder. See, in the Hornady, your shell slides along the shell holder. The shell holder is flat and hard. So Hornady got, because of the lock and load system, it has some flex up in here. This has less flex here, but all the flex is here. is in the shell plate itself. That's the system they chose, because on this system, your shell does not slide along the holder, which is this thing here. Your shell is actually inserted into the shell plate itself, so it flexes with the plate. Where on the Hornady, your shell does not flex. That Hornady does not have a flexing shell. Since your shell is sliding along the shell plate holder, it does not flex. But it compensates for that, because you want some flexing, you want some movement in there by the lock and load system allowing the dies themselves to have a little bit of flex in there. That's what you want. You want some movement in those dies. It's a little bit of movement. It helps line up the shell with the die and all that. They decided to make this more rigid. That's why I think they use these actual what do you call these little screws? I have the name for these screws. It slipped my mind, but that's why they actually use these screws and not pins. They don't want no, and believe me, you want this to be not overly tight, but tight where this thing is not moving. They don't want no movement here. They don't want it like the other designs, the other ones. The old Pro 2000 had the pins where it allowed a lot more movement in this die plate, and the Dillon has the pins and it allows movement in the die plate. They didn't want that. They wanted this to be as sturdy as possible, because they had all the flex in the plate. I've been thinking about this thing and thinking about the engineering of this thing. The flex is in the plate, is in the shell plate, not in the die plate, or the tool head, as some people call it. It's here. Where on the Hornady, the flex is in the lock and load system. The movement, the slight movement that you need, is in the lock and load system. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, that wasn't. Here's the point of this video.